I find that the passages that came in 2013 are very abstract in nature. So just try to absorb what the passage is trying to convey as you go along, because questions that are asked are also quite relevant to the passage. So has everyone read the paragraph? Okay, so let's move to the questions. So here's the first question for the paragraph. I hope you do have the photo shot of it, because the questions would be referring to specific lines in the paragraph. Okay, I'm showing the passage just for those who have not taken the snapshot of it. Okay, I hope everyone has taken the snapshot. Okay, so let's discuss this question. The question says the future existence in the first paragraph can refer to: 1. Human life 5 years afterwards; 2. Next birth in human form; 3. Next birth in any embodiment. So let's refer to the paragraph. The future existence is at this point in the first italics paragraph. By future existences, the author means that in those very bodies or embodiments. So the author does not here clarify whether he means uh, the same body in a very long-term perspective, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years afterwards in the same body, or a reincarnated body. So uh, basically, if you look at it, it can mean all. The author can mean all of it, the same body in a very long-term perspective, or the reincarnated body in the similar form, or a different embodiment. So in this question, all the three statements could be the possible answer, uh, whereas in the options we do not have all the three. So none of it should have been none of the above, according to me. Uh, they have given it none of the three, but it should have been none of the options because all three of them are possible for future existences. Let's have a look at the solution. Okay, in the solution, the first part supports what I said. The later parts is just kind of confuses us. So I think it is option E, but for a different reason because it's all of the three and none of the options give us that option. So does anyone have a doubt in this question? Anyone would like to know why the explanation that has been given here is incorrect, or uh, why option E is the answer, not option B or option D? Okay, good. So let's move to the second question. Second question. Okay, so one question is, if option 3 is only there, what if option 3 is only there? I mean, by option 3, you are saying option C. 1 and yeah. So since the author clearly mentions in the same body and uh, in different embodiment, so and since we have been given in the option, so we'd like to take 2 also along. But yes, if only 1 and 3 would have been there, then 1 and 3 would have been the logical choice. So next question is assertion conclusion question. So assertion is the first italicized part of the paragraph, and conclusion is belief that long-term consequences are important. Okay, so let's discuss this question. So what does the assertion mean here? Assertion says whatever actions are done by an individual in different embodiments, she reaps the fruit of those actions in those very bodies or embodiments. So basically what the passage, this line is trying to say that whatever one sows, he reaps. Uh, maybe in a future long-term perspective, but eventually one has to reap what he or she sows. And the conclusion is believe that long-term consequences are important. So among the options we have, the conclusion will always follow the assertion. The conclusion may follow the assertion. The conclusion conclusion may follow the assertion if an individual lives long enough, and conclusion cannot follow the assertion. So basically, the third sentence here, conclusion may follow the assertion only if an individual lives long enough, is clearly incorrect. So uh, because if an individual does not live long enough, she'll reap the what she has sown in the next reincarnation. So D is clearly wrong here. Between 1, 2, and 4, the conclusion cannot follow the assertion. That is the fourth one. Uh, see, if it is true that the meaning of karma is true, then there can be a belief that long-term consequences are important. But the thing is that the belief does not necessarily have to be a belief that long-term consequences are important uh, for the meaning of karma to be true. So I think it would be option 2, sentence 2 and option C here, 2 only, because 1 and 2 again, option B will not be there because 1 and 2 together cannot be the answer. Either it may follow or it will always follow. So sorry, uh, here is the here is the answer for the question, option C. Vinal, is it related to this question or the previous question? Okay. See, Venal, first Vishwanath, I'll first clear Venal's doubt. She's saying that uh, those very bodies are used. So uh, it is true that those very bodies are used, but also after that embodiments words are used, and embodiment basically means uh, the incarnation of an idea or a feeling. So in this context, the embodiment refers to the reincarnation of the same person. So That's why it will not be that person living long enough will not be the answer here. Biswanath, can you be a little more specific with your question? See, basically, we have three options here. Either it is conclusion will always follow the assertion, it may follow the assertion, or conclusion cannot follow the assertion. That much is clear. It can be only one of these three. Any of the two combinations cannot go together. So, so it is that if something happens that someone reaps what he or she has sown, she may come to believe in long-term consequences, but that's not uh, given that that will definitely happen. We cannot say that it will not be if the karma thing mentioned in the first paragraph, if that happens, then uh, no one will believe in future that uh, that long-term consequences are important. Okay, so that's why we cannot, the conclusion cannot follow the assertion. Rather, conclusion cannot follow the assertion always. If there had been a term that the conclusion may not follow the assertion, then we could have given it some leniency. But it sounds very definite here, and for the similar reason, we are not selecting option the sentence one here. So Prakash has a doubt in the line in para, read the action in very embodiment. What does this mean? So I think there is a confusion here. So the first passage says whatever actions are done by an individual in different embodiments. So whatever an action does an individual do in whatever body he or she is, whether in a body of an animal, a human, in a king or a poor person, uh, he or she reaps the fruits of those actions in those very bodies. So this part in those very bodies means that in those bodies in which they are in the future, in long-term future or maybe even short-term future, or embodiments, so or in different body. So it means that basically it's trying to indicate in their reincarnated form. So in their rebirths, they will uh, reap reap uh, the rewards or punishment of whatever have they have done in the past. I hope the meaning is clear here. Okay, moving to the next question. Which of the following statements, if true, would contradict the first of the three premises mentioned in the paragraph, in the first paragraph? Varun, contradict means to prove false. So if we are saying that if one of these sentence is which if true will contradict the first premise, it means that if that statement is true, then the first premise would be proven to be false. Okay, so let us first look at what is the first premise. Okay, so the first premise is lower expectations often lead to greater satisfaction. So just look at the words that have been used here: expectations and satisfaction. So these are the two variables that we will work to get the answer. So a higher satisfaction leads to a lower expectation. Though this might not be correct, uh, but it is possible in the reverse order. So since we have lower expectations, which leads to higher satisfaction, so it would be lower expectations is connected to higher satisfaction. Then lower expectations lead to long-term consequences. Uh, that can be true since we have lower expectations. Uh, that would uh, that would affect the amount of effort that we put or the others put to get the long-term consequences. Satisfaction depends on achievement and not expectation. So try to put it along with the premise that we have lower expectations lead to higher satisfaction. So if the option C is true, so it means that it does not whatever levels our expectations are, whether they are high or low, it does not matter because satisfaction ultimately depends on achievement. So it would in a way falsify the premise that we have. Karma affects our immediate feelings. Uh, Again, it might be true, but it is not related to either satisfaction or expectation. So lower expectation would lead to lower effort. It can be implied. It is possible if it is possible that the last statement is possible and simultaneously the first premise that we have is also true. So option C is the answer here. See, one way to attack the question would be that just look at that if the premise that we had lower expectations lead to higher satisfaction. assume that is true, and assume that the statement that we are looking at is also true, and if both can coexist together or not. I'm not asking you to see that they coexist together in a true false way. I'm asking you to see that they can be simultaneously true or false in a logical manner. So that means that one statement should not be directly saying something opposite to the second statement. So it is possible that other than option C, A, B, D, and E can also be false. But it is also possible that they can be true while our first premise is also true. While that cannot be the case with the option C, it cannot be true while our first premise is also true. So here is the solution for this question. So moving to the next question. Okay, so let's discuss this question. Before actually discussing it, I would like to uh, I'd like to point your attention to something that is very logical in nature. So look at statement 1 and statement 3. Temporary feelings and law of karma are independent, and the third statement says temporary feelings and law of karma are contradictory. So when we say that two things are contradictory, so that means they are dependent on each other. If x is positive and y is contradictory to x, then y would be negative. X is negative, then y would be positive. So in a way, they are dependent on each other. While the first sentence here says temporary feelings and law of karma are independent. So just see to it that the first sentence and third statement cannot be true together. Either uh, one would be true or three would be true. They cannot both be true. So in the options, wherever you see 1 and 3 together, they they are not the answers. They are incorrect options. Okay, so let's first look at what the second premise exactly is. Yeah, individuals with long-term orientation are likely to be less inclined to lower expectations in hope of temporarily feeling better. So this basically means that people who believe in karma do not get carried away uh, by the feel good factor of temporary feelings, and and they are and think about long term orientations of their actions. So uh, this basically suggests that it does not matter that temporary feelings are good or bad. The law of karma would dictate what the future consequences would be, and depending on that present action, a present karma would be determined. So statement one is true, and for the logical reason that we discussed before it, statement three would be in false. Statement two, as per theory of karma, temporary feelings would not lower the expectation. That is also true. So statement one and two would be true. So B would be the answer for this question. Okay, so let's move to question 5. A manager went a manager went out to have dinner in a restaurant and found the good to be good. Okay, so when asked to provide feedback on quality of food, the manager rated quality as excellent. Which of the following can be concluded from this? So notice he found the food good but rated it excellent. What can you infer from that? Okay, so let's look at first what the disconfirmation sensitivity is. It says that consumers who are more satisfied when products perform better than expected, or more dissatisfied when products perform worse than expected. So clearly, the manager, since uh, it implies here that the manager expected the food to be average, but it turned out to be good. So uh, he he got carried away and marked the quality as excellent because it was above what he had expected. So the manager would definitely have a disconfirmation sensitivity. So option B is the answer here. I think nobody has doubt about this question. So that allows us to move to the next paragraph. Okay, so let's move to passage 2. So here is the passage 2. Take some time to read through it. It is by comparison a easier passage, but the question would nevertheless be as difficult as the last passage question. So go through it thoroughly. Confetti, for those of you who do not know, confetti here means very small pieces of paper made out by tearing a bigger sheet into very small bits of paper. And not necessarily, it does not necessarily mean confetti would be made of paper. It can be also plastics and all. Glittery confetti is very common in birthday parties. So in the passage, it means that small bits of paper made from a larger paper. So has everyone read the paragraph? Okay, so one more minute and then we'll move to the question answer. I hope everyone has taken the snapshot of this passage. Okay, so let's move to the first question of the passage. So while attempting this question, uh, try to figure what is most analogous to Fermi's confetti experiment. What can be most similarly applied to that? Okay, so before attempting this question, I would like you to look at the confetti experiment of Fermi. So, uh, three things from this experiment. One, the Fermi concluded that the yield must be greater than 10 kilotons. So, Fermi is not here calculating exact yield of the atomic bomb. He is finding the minimum yield of the atomic bomb that was there. So first thing, he's not calculating the exact thing, he's calculating approximate, uh, rather the minimum value of it, minimum quantity of something. Second, uh, he's observing how far back it was scattered, taking the farthest scattered pieces as the peak of the pressure wave. So he does not look at the size of the confetti that was scattered the farthest. He just takes the bit that traveled the farthest, and similarly, uh, he was not looking at average. He was looking at the maximum the confetti traveled, or the minimum the value of the yield because of the pressure wave. So with these information, we let's look at the questions that we have. So first of all, look at option D. You can calculate the exact volume of water stored in a tank by measuring distance covered by the stream of water coming out of the tap fixed on the lower corner of the tank. So the term here exact volume is against what Fermi used to do. He used to calculate the minimum value of something. So option D would be incorrect. Also look at option B and C. So you can calculate the average potency of a firecracker, average potency of earthquake. So uh, again, Fermi did not specialize in calculating average values, so that would make this wrong. And in option B, there is another thing: distance covered by one of its bigger fragments. So if it were Fermi, he would look at the distance covered by any fragment. So option B is wrong, and option C is also wrong. And option A, you can calculate minimum pressure. That is something that Fermi would be interested in, calculating the minimum value of something inside the cooker by calculating maximum distance traveled by any of its part after it explodes. So this is something that is analogous to the experiment of Fermi. So option A is the answer here. So here's the question 2. Quick estimate as per Fermi is most useful in. Okay, so just uh, to discuss this question, let's look at option A first. Quick estimate as per Fermi is most useful in A. Finding an approximate that is more useful than existing values. So Fermi never says that it is more useful to uh, find approximate of something than finding the existing values. He just goes with the conveniency factor that it can be more convenient and easy to approximate rather than using complex methods to come up with existing values. In finding out the exact minimum of an estimate, well, it could look like a correct answer because it mentions minimum value, but to look for the term exact here, the Fermi never came out with exact answers. So it is not actually, it is the word exact that makes the answer incorrect here. So for the same reason again, and plus the added value, added word maximum, option C is also incorrect. Option D would be correct because in for me used to find an estimate, and estimate would be basically a range of values. So for example, the piano example there for me was looking for a range of values that had to be estimated. In last game for me's methods never calculated the average value of an estimate. So option D would be the answer here. Okay, so moving to next question. So just look for the basic idea, a basic theme of the passage, the basic uh, idea that the passage is trying to convey to the audience. Okay, so let's look at the statements one by one. It is useful to estimate even when the exact answer is known. This is not the paragraph is trying to convey that even when you know the exact answer, you should go for estimate. So one will not feature it, should not feature in the options that we are looking at. It is possible to estimate any physical quantity. So actually, uh, when uh, Fermi used to uh, direct his students to find the quantities of different things, he used to emphasize that it is possible to find out the quantity of almost anything. So second option is true, that it is possible to estimate any physical quantity. Statement 3, it is possible to estimate the number of units of a newly launched car that can be sold in a city. This is a direct inference or a direct conclusion from the second option. So if second option is true, then third is automatically true. Second sentence is true, then third sentence is automatically true. And fourth, Fermi was a genius. Well, that might be true in real life, but the passage is not trying to convey this message. It was trying to convey the estimating methods or the estimations done by Fermi. So we'll not take fourth as a central idea of the passage. So option C, statement 2 and 3 are the correct. Sorry, option C. So here is the fourth question. Read the statements given below, and based on that, which of the following statements can be inferred from the passage? See, all of these three statements can be true in the real life, but you have to find out only those statements that can be inferred directly from the passage. So let's review the statements one by one. Statement 1, atomic bomb detonation was a result of Fermi's Nobel Prize contribution. So while it is mentioned that Fermi did win a Nobel Prize, I think it was 1938, it was mentioned. So yeah, Fermi did win a Nobel Prize in 1938, and Fermi was involved in atomic bomb detonation, but there is no place in the passage given that connect these two, that Fermi's research for which he won Nobel Prize was used in same research was used in atomic bomb. So uh, the first statement cannot be inferred directly from the passage. Two, Fermi students respected him as a scientist. Again, the passage mentions that Fermi had students and he taught them very different things, counterintuitive things. But again, it is silent on the information if Fermi's students respected him as a scientist or as a teacher. So uh, statement two statement two also cannot be inferred from the passage. Yield of an atomic bomb can only be measured in kilotons. In the passage, the yield has been mentioned in kilotons, but it does not specify that it can be the only way. In fact, at yield of an atomic bombs are nowadays measured in megatons rather than kilotons. So statement 3 again cannot be inferred from the passage. So the answer would be option E. None of the three statements is correct. Here is the solution for the question. So before going further, uh, Prakash requested for solution to question 3, so I'm just running through that for 30 seconds. Then we'll move to next passage. So here is the third passage. Yes, a few lines are continued at the next page. So once you are done the reading, I'll switch to the next page. It's only 3-4 lines on the next page. So just tell me when you are finished. So has everybody read the passage? So we'll move to the next page now. Okay, so let's move to the question answer here. Here is the first question to the paragraph, to the passage. I'm showing the last lines here once more, and the first part, just so that you can connect with it. Okay, so in this first question, look, in the first question, look at it. The question is according to Popper. So for the answer, we look at the part which we look at the part which provides information about the Popper's theory or Popper's claims. So that would be the first passage. Whatever is mentioned in first passage, we'll derive our answer to the first question from here. So basically, according to Popper, if anything positive happens, it is impossible to say that this is true, because he believes that sometime in future it will be proved negative, because there exists a negative instance of it. Whereas if anything is false, then it can, if anything's any instance is false, then we can immediately deduce that this can never happen, and if something doesn't happen, we can infer that there is at least one instance where it cannot happen. So this something is false, and that can be established. So among the options that we have, uh, we can only deduce. Again, look at the words between option D and option E. Option E, we can only induce that scientific belief is false, and option D, we can only deduce that scientific belief is false. So author believes in deduction. In the end, he also says that whatever is inductive cannot be can be good. So the author is also relying on Popper. So we say that he deduced. He did not induce. So between option D and option E, option D is correct. Because we can only deduce that scientific belief is false, but cannot induce that it is true. And the other options would not be correct, because for example, positive instances of scientific belief imply that it is universal in character, which is not what Popper said. There are equal number of uh, negative and positive instances of universal scientific belief. Uh, Popper does not believe in that. He says that there can be any number of positive instances, but there will always be an indefinite number of negative instances. So he does not believe them to be equal. And if there is a negative and positive instance of a scientific belief, then it cannot be universal. Again, Popper says that if there is a positive, there are several positives and a negative instance comes along, then it will be false. So it is still universal, but it will be false. So here is the answer to this passage. Sorry, to this question. So moving to the next question. Okay, the statement this asymmetry between verification and falsification is not nearly as pronounced as Popper declared it to be. This implies that. So, uh, what if first we'll look at what the asymmetry is. Asymmetry is that you can reject things. You can reject things by means of falsification, but you can uh, not accept things by means of verification. So while falsification can lead to rejection of something, uh, verification cannot lead to acceptance of it. So when the author says that it is not nearly as pronounced as Popper declared it to be, he meant that uh, Popper made the falsification like an absolute thing. He said this is not always true. It can be. It can. It depends on accepting certain other things as true, which is again an acceptance, and hence it is not as pronounced as Popper declared it to be. So, in essence, he said that uh, the capability of falsification in rejection of scientific beliefs is not always better than the verification in acceptance of scientific beliefs. So, which is option E actually. He says that rejection of beliefs is not always better than uh, verification and acceptance of scientific beliefs. It can also depend on acceptance of certain things. Uh, Option D also essentially says the same thing, but it is uh, sorry. Option D is saying that capability of falsification accepting scientific beliefs. So this is fundamentally wrong because uh, falsification is basically used to rejection of scientific beliefs. So uh, saying that capability of falsification and accepting of scientific beliefs is not better than verification, that of verification in rejecting scientific beliefs is incorrect. The other options are quite self-evident. Falsification is better than verification. Uh, that is not what author meant when he says that it is not nearly as pronounced as Popper declared it to be. He rather said that falsification is not that better as Popper assumed it to be. Again, he does not say that verification is better than falsification. He just says that falsification is not as better as Popper thought it to be, and both falsification and verification together can result in universal acceptance of scientific beliefs. Again, uh, this is not what author meant when he says that falsification is not nearly as pronounced. He is talking about falsification, not uh, taking both falsification and verification together. So option C will not be the answer also. So moving to the next question. With which of the following statements would author agree most? Okay, so in solving this question, let us first review the structure of the passage. The structure is such that the author first comes up with Popper's theory. He says that the Popper said that falsification is absolutely better than verification in every respect. Then author says that falsification is not that good as Popper thought it to be, and he drew up the flaws of falsification. Wha- Uh, absolutely going by falsification, what is wrong with that approach? Then he moves to the last paragraph and says that falsification is still not that bad. It is better to reject claims by falsifying uh, than accept them by verifying. So, in the end, author central idea of author is falsification, though not that better as Popper claimed it to be, but still is better than verification. So, if you look at option A, verification is better than falsification in establishing claims. This is not what author went for. He's not watching for verification. So option A is incorrect. Option C, verification and falsification are equally bad in establishing claims. Or option B, falsification and verification are equally good in establishing claims. So these would also be incorrect because author does not put falsification and verification on the same plane. He says that falsification is slightly better than verification. So falsification and verification are not equally good or equally bad. And verification, option E, verification is better than falsification in disproving the claims. This is also incorrect because according to author, verification is not better than falsification. So which leaves us with option D, falsification is better than verification in disproving the claims. So option D is the answer here. Here is the solution. So moving to the fourth question. Which of the following would be most appropriate conclusion? Okay, so first let's look at options C, D, and E. So C, D, and E would be by themselves, by the way they start the sentence. Verification gives us a reason. Verification gives us an appropriate reason. They would themselves make it incorrect because the passage is more about falsification. Uh, it uh, it is less about verification, and it is more about what falsification gives us. Does it gives us the right reasons? Why does it not give us right reasons and such things? So uh, C, D, and E would not be what the passage is about. So we reject C, D, E. Nevertheless, we look at the options. Verification gives us a reason for rejecting a claim. It is incorrect. Falsification gives us a reason to reject it. Verification gives us appropriate reason for accepting a scientific belief. So it is also incorrect. Because of verification, uh, we cannot accept a scientific belief just because of verification. And verification gives us an appropriate reason for rejecting a scientific belief. Again, verification does not give us an appropriate reason, but falsification does. Let's look at option A and B. Option A says falsification gives us an appropriate reason for rejecting a scientific belief. At option B, falsification gives us all the reason for accepting a claim. So falsification is basically about rejecting a belief or a claim. So option B would be false here, and option A would be correct, which is falsification gives us an appropriate reason for rejecting a scientific belief. So that was the last question for this passage, and that would be all for today. So very good night to all of you. Thank you for bearing with me. Oh yes, the answer for this question is okay. So good night to all of you. I will meet you next week.